Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we cut through information overload to bring you surprising facts and actionable insights. Today, we're embarking on really a fascinating journey into an ancient collection of wisdom, a foundational text that offers remarkable clarity on, human experience.
That's right. Our sources for this deep dive come from the Anguttara Nikaya, specifically a section known as the Book of the Fours. You can sort of imagine these as incredibly concise lessons, almost like lists, each one distilling complex aspects of life, character, spiritual progress, all into these distinct categories of four.
And our mission here is to unpack these ancient fourfold classifications. We want to extract timeless principles that can illuminate, well, pretty much everything, from the personal conduct and relationships right through to spiritual development, maybe even societal well-being.
It's surprisingly relevant stuff.
Totally. So get ready for some profound insights, because whether you're looking to understand human nature better, maybe improve your relationships, or just cultivate a more meaningful life, this deep dive offers frameworks that are, well, still powerful today.
Okay, so kicking us off, these texts introduce this really powerful concept, flows of merit or goodness. What exactly does that mean? How does it lead to these measurable positive outcomes?
It's quite profound, really. For monastics, the texts illustrate it. They describe a monk using basic necessities, robes, food, lodging, medicine, but with immeasurable concentration of mind.
Okay.
And this isn't just about ritual, it's about a deep mindful appreciation. The texts say this generates a huge immeasurable amount of merit. They liken it to the water in a great ocean. You just can't quantify it. It's really about how intention and mindfulness can elevate even simple everyday acts. And what's really interesting, you mentioned this extends beyond monastic life. So for a noble disciple, which is basically what anyone trying to live ethically.
Exactly, yeah. Anyone committed to the path, for them, the texts point to four specific kinds of unwavering faith.
Okay, can you walk us through those?
Absolutely. So first, faith in the Buddha, understanding him as the fully enlightened one, the unsurpassed guide. Then, faith in the Dhamma, that's the teaching itself, well-expounded, visible, timeless. Third, in the Sangha, the community of those practicing rightly, worthy of offerings. And crucially, faith in one's own noble virtues. The texts say possessing these leads to a truly fruitful life. It ensures you are not poor in a very deep spiritual sense.
Not poor. That phrase really stands out. So it's definitely not about material wealth, is it?
Precisely. Not solely material, anyway. It highlights that true richness is spiritual, and abundance built on deep trust and ethical conduct. And this conduct is described very specifically: unbroken, untorn, unspotted, unblemished, meaning it's pure, consistent.
Right.
It's also free from external pressures, and praised by the wise. Ultimately, this all leads to a deep inner concentration. It's a very holistic view of well-being.
Holistic. I like that. Okay, let's shift gears a bit, maybe to more tangible things. Some texts talk about four things people generally desire: wealth, gained righteously; fame from that wealth; a long life; and a good rebirth.
Yeah.
So what do these ancient sources tell us about actually achieving these desires? Is there a formula?
Well, sort of. The texts propose four accomplishments to achieve these, and what's maybe surprising is that they're all internal qualities.
Internal, okay.
Yeah. First, accomplishment in faith, that unwavering belief in the Buddha's enlightenment we just talked about. Then, accomplishment in virtue, specifically refraining from things like killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, and intoxicants, the basic precepts. Third, accomplishment in generosity, living with a mind free from stinginess, being open-handed, actually delighting in giving and sharing. And finally, accomplishment in wisdom, which means understanding and letting go of mental defilements, things like covetousness, ill will, laziness, restlessness, doubt.
Wow. It's really striking how these ancient teachings link those outward desires, wealth, fame, directly to inner ethical development. It's not just about what you do to get rich, but who you are.
That's a great way to put it.
But, okay, say you've gained wealth righteously, through effort and honest means.
Yeah.
How do the texts say you should use it? Is there guidance on that too?
Oh, absolutely. The texts outline four actions of fulfillment for wealth. How to use it well. First, use it to make yourself and your dependents happy and comfortable. That includes parents, children, servants, friends, your whole circle.
Okay, makes sense.
Second, using it for protection against misfortunes like fire, floods, rulers, thieves, or even, interestingly, unpleasant heirs who might waste it.
Practical.
Very. Third, fulfilling 5 kinds of offerings or duties to relatives, guests, departed relatives, royalty like taxes, presumably, and deities. And fourth, making offerings to monastics and Brahmins who are living rightly. Those free from intoxication, patient, gentle, self-controlled, calm, basically embodying the ideals. Maybe having attained nirvana. And the texts are clear. Any wealth not used in these 4 ways is considered ill-spent, wasted.
That's a really comprehensive framework for, well, ethical finance almost. And this also ties into happiness, doesn't it? A different kind of happiness. The texts mention 4 kinds specifically for householders.
Yes, exactly. This is where the practical and the spiritual really merge for everyday life. The first is simply the happiness of having righteous wealth, just possessing it, knowing it was earned well. Second, the happiness of enjoying it and doing good deeds with it, actively using it beneficially. Third, and this is interesting, the profound happiness of being debt-free, not owing anyone anything, that sense of freedom. And fourth, maybe the deepest one, the happiness of having blameless actions, knowing your conduct, body, speech, and mind is clean.
It's fascinating that being debt-free and having blameless actions are put right up there with having and enjoying wealth. It really emphasizes the internal and ethical roots of real contentment.
Exactly. It's a powerful reminder, isn't it? Material things alone don't guarantee happiness. Inner peace and ethical conduct are, well, indispensable.
So true. Okay, moving on. Our sources then get right into the heart of our social structures, starting with something really fundamental. Family. What do these ancient texts say about honoring parents?
Oh, they use incredibly strong terms here. Households where parents are honored are described as being with Brahma, like with the highest deity, also with former teachers, with former deities, and worthy of offerings.
Wow. Why such high praise?
Because parents are seen as these great benefactors, they're nourishers, protectors, and crucially, those who show the world, meaning they teach us how to live, how to navigate life. And the texts emphasize showing honor through very practical acts, providing food, drink, clothing, lodging, anointing, bathing, even washing their feet. This kind of care, it says, brings praise in this life and joy in the next. It's about recognizing this profound debt of gratitude we owe them.
That's beautifully put. What about relationships between partners? I gather the texts use some pretty striking metaphors there. 4 types of cohabitation.
They do. Very striking. They use the metaphors of corpse and deity.
Corpse and deity.
Yeah, a corpse partner is someone who engages in unwholesome actions. You know the list. Killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, alcohol. They're unvirtuous, ill-mannered, maybe even revile monks and nuns. And it expands beyond actions, too. Harsh speech, divisive talk, idle chatter, covetousness, ill will, holding wrong views. It's a whole pattern.
Right.
A deity partner, conversely, refrains from all that. They're virtuous, generous, kind.
So the text described 4 pairings. You can have a corpse with corpse. Both partners unvirtuous. A corpse with deity, one bad, one good. A deity with corpse, the reverse. Or, ideally, a deity, where both are virtuous, generous, pleasant speakers, living by the Dhamma, the teachings.
Those are incredibly vivid and pretty direct ways to categorize relationships. So for couples wanting a lasting connection, maybe even, as the text suggests, into the next life, is there more specific advice beyond just, trying not to be a corpse?
Yes, definitely more than just that. The text specifically mentioned that if a husband and wife wish to see each other in this life and the next, they both need to have equal faith, equal virtue, equal generosity, and equal wisdom.
Equal on all 4 counts, that's key.
Exactly. It suggests that when both partners share these qualities, they're faithful, generous, self-restrained, living ethically, then they naturally become pleasant speakers to each other, they enjoy abundant gains together, they can face challenges, dispirit enemies, as the text says, and both can potentially reach heavenly realms after death. The real emphasis is on that shared ethical and spiritual development as the foundation for a deep, lasting bond.
So it's not just about finding the right person, but both partners striving to be the right kind of person for each other and for themselves. That's a powerful way to think about it.
It really is.
Now, the texts don't just talk about actions and relationships. They actually categorize people themselves.
Yeah.
You mentioned 4 types based on their moral character and even who they hang out with.
Yes, they paint these quite distinct portraits. First, you have a demon with a demon retinue. That's an unvirtuous person surrounded by unvirtuous companions. Birds of a feather, you might say.
Okay, that makes sense.
Then, interestingly, a demon with divine retinue. An unvirtuous person who somehow has virtuous friends or associates.
Wonder how that works out.
Right. Then the opposite. A divine being with demon retinue. A virtuous person, but their company is less than ideal. And finally, the ideal scenario. A divine being with divine retinue. A virtuous person with virtuous companions. It really hammers home the impact of your own character and, crucially, The company you keep, they influence each other for better or worse.
Definitely food for thought there about who we surround ourselves with. And beyond that, how do we judge people? Or maybe more importantly, how do we judge ourselves? The texts offer this fascinating lens on how good and bad people handle praise and blame.
Yes, it's a very insightful piece of psychological analysis, really. A bad person, according to these texts, is someone who, even unasked, is eager to point out other people's faults. And if you do ask them, they'll lay it all out, every detail.
Oh dear.
Conversely, they're really reluctant to mention anyone else's virtues or good qualities, especially if you don't ask. But when it comes to themselves, they readily talk up their own virtues and carefully hide their own faults.
That's familiar.
Doesn't it? Now, a good person is the complete opposite. They are reluctant to talk about others' faults, but quite happy to point out their virtues. And regarding themselves, they readily admit their own faults while being humble about their own good qualities.
That's a brilliant mirror to hold up to ourselves, isn't it? It really challenges us to think about our own tendencies when we talk about ourselves and others.
Absolutely. And there's even this lovely analogy used comparing the ideal conduct to a new bride who initially shows deep modesty and respect for everyone in her new home, the in-laws, the servants, everyone.
Right, that initial care and consideration.
Exactly. But then, maybe over time, that fades. The texts urge us to maintain that initial sense of propriety and humility throughout life. It implies these qualities aren't fixed. They require continuous effort, continuous mindfulness.
Maintaining that beginner's mind, that integrity. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, let's move now to inner development. The sources lay out some clear paths for spiritual growth. Mostly for monks, he said, but with lessons for everyone.
Yes, definitely universal lessons. They describe a sure path to destroying those mental defilements we talked about earlier. This is for a monk who is virtuous, learned, energetic, and wise. So those are the prerequisites.
Oh.
And this path is characterized by 4 key intentions. Think of them as core principles for inner peace and eventual liberation. They are thoughts of renunciation, letting go of attachments, thoughts of non-ill will, cultivating kindness instead of anger, thoughts of non-harming compassion, and right view, understanding reality correctly, free from delusion.
Renunciation, non-ill will, non-harming, right view. So how do these big intentions translate into, like, practical daily discipline? What's the actual work involved for self-improvement?
Good question. That's where the texts detail 4 specific exertions or strivings. Think of it like a mental workout plan. First, the effort to prevent unarisen, unwholesome states like bad thoughts or intentions from arising in the first place.
Okay, preventative.
Second, the effort to abandon unwholesome states that have already arisen, dealing with negativity once it's there. Third, the effort to develop wholesome states like kindness, focus, wisdom that haven't arisen yet, cultivating the good. And fourth, the effort to maintain and perfect the wholesome states that are already present, keep the good stuff going and make it stronger. It provides this really clear, active framework for continuous self-improvement.
Prevent, abandon, develop, maintain. That's very clear. The text also mentioned different types of meditative attainment, right? Something about tranquility versus insight.
Yes, that's a crucial distinction in Buddhist practice, samatha and vipassana. The text describe 4 types of people here. One who attains inner mental tranquility, the calm, abiding, or samatha, but doesn't develop insight wisdom, vipassana. So they can calm the mind, but don't see deeply into the nature of reality.
Okay, calm, but not necessarily wise in that specific way.
Exactly. Then there's the opposite. Someone who attains insight but struggles with tranquility. Their mind might be sharp, but not very settled. Then someone who attains neither, still struggling on both fronts. And finally, the ideal. The person who attains both tranquility and insight, calm and clear.
And what's the advice for those who are lacking one or the other, or both?
The advice is pretty direct. Vigorously strive for what you're missing. Even seek guidance from those who excel in that area. Learn from them. And it uses this incredibly powerful analogy. Strive as if your clothes or your head are on fire.
Wow, that really conveys urgency.
It absolutely does. It emphasizes how important and urgent cultivating these wholesome states of mind really is.
Okay, so strive like your hair's on fire.
Yeah.
But paradoxically, perhaps, there are also things the texts say we should not overthink. That feels very relevant today with information overload.
Oh, absolutely. Very relevant. The texts warn about 4 unthinkables things that, if you contemplate them too deeply, can actually lead to madness or serious distress.
Unthinkables, what are they?
Okay, first, the scope of a Buddha's powers. Just don't try to wrap your head around the full extent of it. Second, the scope of a meditator's jhanic power. Their deep meditative absorption abilities, again, beyond normal comprehension. Third, the precise workings and results of karma. The complex web of cause and effect across lifetimes is too vast to fully figure out. And fourth, speculation about the world, essentially cosmology, origins of the universe, things like that. It's really a vital reminder to focus our mental energy wisely, where it's most fruitful for our own path, rather than getting lost in unanswerable or potentially overwhelming questions.
That's really practical advice, actually. Focus on what you can work on. Now, we've talked a lot about individual actions, individual minds, but these texts also zoom out, don't they? They draw this surprisingly direct line between leadership and, well, even the natural world. How do they connect those two?
It's a stark and, frankly, quite powerful lesson in interconnectedness. One text draws the sharp contrast between the impact of righteous versus unrighteous rulers. If the rulers are unrighteous, corrupt, unethical. The texts say that unrighteousness trickles down through the whole of society. Their officials become unrighteous, then the Brahmins and householders, then the ordinary town and country folk. Everyone gets dragged down.
Okay, a ripple effect of bad leadership.
Exactly. And here's the shocking part. This imbalance is said to extend even to the natural world. The sun and moon become irregular, the stars and constellations go off course, day and night, months, seasons, they all become erratic.
Seriously, the weather patterns change.
According to this text, yes. Winds blow unevenly, the deities, the natural forces, perhaps become displeased, rain doesn't fall properly, crops ripen unevenly, and the ultimate result for humans is shorter lifespans, more ugliness, weakness, and sickness. It's a profound link between social ethics and ecological balance.
Wow. So if that's the grim picture for unrighteous leadership, what about a righteous ruler? What's the positive vision?
Well, it's the exact opposite, thankfully. If the ruler is righteous, that righteousness permeates society. Everyone down the line tends towards ethical behavior, and consequently, natural phenomena align properly. Deities are pleased, rain is timely, crops are abundant and wholesome, and this leads to long, beautiful, strong, and healthy lives for the human beings living under that rule.
That's quite a claim. Is there an analogy they use?
Yes, a very clear one. If the lead bull in a herd goes crooked, the whole herd follows it crookedly. If the lead bull goes straight, the whole herd goes straight. It says, similarly, if the leader of humans is unrighteous, the whole country suffers. If the leader is righteous, the whole country is happy. It's a powerful reminder that leadership really matters, not just morally, but in its very practical impact on society and maybe even the environment we depend on.
Absolutely. And on a more personal level, these texts are also very direct about the consequences of our individual actions, right?
Yeah.
They lay out these clear paths to positive or negative outcomes based on our choices.
Oh, very direct, yes. They outline 4 specific actions that reliably lead to negative destinies, unpleasant rebirths, like hell realms. Those are killing living beings, taking what is not given, stealing, sexual misconduct, and false speech, lying.
The big 4 negative actions.
Exactly. And conversely, consciously refraining from those 4 actions leads towards positive destinies, good rebirths, like heavenly realms. This also extends specifically to speech. It's not just lying. Divisive speech gossip that splits people up, harsh speech and idle chatter, pointless talk. These also lead to negative outcomes, while refraining from them leads to positive ones. It's a very clear karmic blueprint.
And it's not just about outward actions or speech, is it? What's fascinating is how our inner attachments can affect our future, too.
Absolutely. That's a crucial layer. The texts highlight that being attached to things like anger, malice, personal gain, or honor, especially when you prioritize those over the true Dhamma, the actual teachings and path that leads to negative outcomes, you're clinging to the wrong things. Conversely, prioritizing the true Dhamma over those worldly attachments, fame, gain, avoiding criticism, etc., that leads to positive results. It really brings up an important question for anyone listening. What are your core attachments? What do you cling to? And how do those align, or maybe conflict, with a path of genuine well-being?
That's a tough question to ponder. Even our birth circumstances combined with our actions. The texts seem to map out different life trajectories based on that.
Yes, they categorize people's journeys in a way that feels very timeless. They talk about people moving dark to dark. This means someone born into difficult circumstances, a low-status family, poor, perhaps sickly, who then continues to act unrighteously with negativity. So they just deepen their own struggles, moving from darkness into more darkness.
That's one path.
Then there's dark to light. Someone who starts in those difficult, dark circumstances but chooses to act righteously, ethically. They cultivate goodness, and so they move towards a brighter future, improving their prospects. Then light to dark. Someone born into fortunate circumstances, high status, wealthy, maybe beautiful but who acts unrighteously, squandering their advantages through bad conduct. They move from light towards darkness.
And the last one.
That's light to light. Someone who starts with advantages the light birth and also acts righteously. They use their good fortune well, cultivate virtue, and so they maintain and even enhance their positive trajectory. It's a powerful reminder, really. While our starting points in life might vary wildly, our actions, our choices, those are what ultimately determine our future direction.
Agency is key, regardless of where you start. Okay, finally, there's this recurring theme that comes up. Self-interest versus altruism. Helping ourselves versus helping others. The text categorizes in a very insightful way.
Yes, this is one of my favorite schemas from the Book of Fours, actually. It lays out 4 types of individuals based on who they work for themselves or others. First, there are those who work neither for their own benefit nor for the benefit of others. Just ineffective, maybe negligent.
Okay, not helping anyone.
Right. Second, those who work for others' benefit but neglect their own. The selfless martyr type, perhaps. Third, those who work for their own benefit but not for others, focus purely on self-gain. And fourth, and this one is called the best, highest, foremost, the person who works for both their own benefit and the benefit of others.
The win-win approach.
Exactly. And the texts use these incredibly vivid comparisons. The person who works for both is likened to the purest ghee, the clarified butter, which is seen as the essence, the finest product derived from milk. It's the best possible outcome. But the one who works for neither, they're compared to a charred log from a funeral pyre, burnt at both ends and smeared with dung. Utterly useless, can't be used for firewood, can't be used for anything else. A stark image of wasted potential.
Wow, that charred log image definitely makes the point. So how do the texts apply this framework, helping self versus others, to more specific actions? How does it play out in practice?
They apply it quite broadly to several key areas of practice. For example, eliminating defilements, those mental poisons like greed, hatred, delusion. The question is, do you work to eliminate your own defilements, Andy? Do you also encourage and help others to eliminate theirs? Or just one? Or neither?
Oh, so self-work and helping others with their inner work.
Right. Another area is learning and teaching Dhamma. Are you quick to grasp, remember, and understand the wholesome teachings for yourself? Andy, are you also good at explaining them, persuading, inspiring, and gladdening others in the practice? Again, the ideal is doing both well.
It makes sense. Learning and sharing.
And a third example, observing precepts. Do you observe the 5 basic precepts yourself, refraining from killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, intoxicants? And D, do you also encourage and support others to observe them? It's consistently about embodying the ideal yourself and then inspiring and facilitating it in others. That's presented as the highest path.
Embodying the change and inspiring it.
Yeah.
Got it. And finally, there's a nuanced take on how we speak about others. Something about praise and blame, moving beyond just being neutral.
Yes, exactly. A conversation comes up in the text where, maybe someone suggests just being neutral, neither praising nor blaming anyone might be the safest route. But the ultimate wisdom, it's argued, lies in knowing the right time to speak. Kalanyuta, knowledge of timing, which means appropriately blaming the blameworthy when it's constructive and true, and appropriately praising the praiseworthy, always truthfully and always at the right moment.
So it's not just about honesty, but about skillful timing and intention.
Precisely. This knowing the right time is highlighted as a really superior quality. Think about it, knowing when to give difficult feedback constructively versus when to just offer encouragement or when to really celebrate someone's success. It requires discernment, wisdom, not just bluntness or silence.
Skillful speech is knowing the right time. That adds another layer. Okay, wow. We've covered a remarkable range of insights today, really diving deep into these ancient texts that organize so much of human experience into these powerful fourfold classifications. From cultivating, immeasurable merit and living righteously, to understanding relationship dynamics, spiritual practice, the impact on society, that balance of self and altruism. These frameworks are incredibly rich and surprisingly practical.
They really are. And what's fascinating, I think, is how these ancient teachings provide such practical tools for self-assessment. They give you a clear path for personal development, for living more harmoniously. They really encourage critical thinking, don't they? Helping us question not just what we do, but why it matters, what its ripple effect might be, extending, as we saw, even to the environment and society as a whole.
Definitely. So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Consider these fourfold paths we've explored today. What aspect, what category resonates most with you in your own life right now? How might Applying just one of these distinctions, maybe about relationships or using wealth or handling praise and blame, how might that eliminate a choice you're facing today? Or perhaps a relationship you wish to cultivate more deeply? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep becoming more well-informed.